The wait is over. Challenge Series Season 2 has finally arrived, and there is a lot of new stuff to go over. Not that this opening shot here really helps to go over any of it, because these three cars are completely unchanged. The only real thing is, like, Doshabori's S30 240Z over there really hasn't shown up very often in races, but it still looks as the same as it did when it first appeared. Anyway, lots of new drivers, a couple of new teams, some big changes, one of which was or a few of which were sort of foreshadowed by Side Story 7, which went up not too long ago and basically played the role of being the off-season storytelling segment. So I guess without wasting too much time, let's get into the first of those new things. Intro. Alright, we're here ahead of race 1 of the episode. It is 3 laps of Lago Maggiore East, I believe. 600 class shall be the first event of Season 2. And we're just going to go ahead and cut to the chase with some of the debuting drivers. Starting with James Altenberg in his Sprinter Trueno. Formerly a highway racer, he has now resorted to track racing after that completely fell flat. And we have Diego Santrizo? I think it's Santrizo. Brazilian DJ who... I don't exactly know why he's here. He's just kind of here to hang out. We have, this is not Francesca, this is Francisco Fidanzi. And an Alfa Romeo Mito. Kokomo Sasaki, who took some convincing from mostly Emmy, and a little bit from Nidori. And she did eventually join the series. She drives an GR86. And then the last debuting car, this is not a new driver, but this is a new vehicle for Akira Taniguchi, a 2000 GT. And we are riding along with Dietrich Schwartz in his Golf, which may or may not be better. Now, it's not red, it's the wrong generation, so probably not better. But it doesn't have to be better, it just has to be good enough. That doesn't make any sense, but quiet. Ahead of Hernandez through the opening set of turns. Sneaks in ahead of Taniguchi. not a very long race on offer here, so Dedrick is going to have to make some pretty quick progress to, like, get a really good result. He's only going to have, like, probably less than 5 minutes of race time to get from last to first. And so far, he seems to be making a lot of progress on that, since he's already into the top 10 in a second. Ahead of Hanamura and ahead of Francisco. Into 9th place, and we're only through one lap of racing. Oh yeah, this is a new car for Reiko Mishima. Based off another old Ridge Racer car. Move the camera the wrong way. There's a battle here, so here's a look at that, because Dedrick is going to effortlessly get ahead of that 240. A battle between Volkswagens, which I don't... Yeah, no, that's not very long-lived. Diego just brakes conservatively. An in-game change to the way that, to the proceedings is in-game mechanical damage is enabled. So drivers' cars will actually take legitimate damage now. It was always just assumed damage before, now it's actual damage. Natsuki is taking dominance. She's overtaken the other Trueno in the race, Altenberg, in her own 8.6. And with that one fell swoop, Dedrick Schwartz has seized the lead. I think catching all 4 of those drivers kind of off guard through all those S's. They'll be 2 by 2 all of them amongst themselves, heading into the next set of corners. Schwartz is already looking like he's about to drive away with it. Altenberg is slightly struggling on his debut here, now about to get overtaken by Sayori Fujikawa into T1. Sayori is this close to being the first to experience the damage system. Yeah, Schwartz is gone. Natsuki is in 2nd place. Pretty convincingly at that. Even from here, Altenberg will still be the highest finishing rookie driver here in a race where there are multiple debuting drivers. He's going to be ahead of Sentrizo and ahead of Sasaki, who's trying to get 13th at least. And Dedrick Schwartz heads out of the final turn. Somewhere in the distance, here comes that dark green Golf to take the first victory of Challenge Series 22 Season 2 by probably a 3-second margin, I would estimate. Natsuki P2 from about 5th or 6th on the starting grid. And Emi, the last driver on the podium. So 6th on debut for Altenberg from starting 3rd, so not amazing. But he still fared better than Diego and Kokomo did, so there's credit to be given for that at the very least. Maybe not too much, though. So I guess let's move forward to round 2 of the episode. We are here ahead of the second race of the episode to once again go into this race's debuting cars and drivers. Francesca Fedanzi has a brand new vehicle. She has a 308 GTB at her disposal for 640 class racing, such as this at Laguna Seca. We have the first debuting driver, Brianna Tao, who is about as unpatriotic as they come, actually born in China, but races with the American colors. We have Pepper Mills in FK8 Civic. You really wouldn't expect that the best doctor in Italy has a whole lot of off days, but she's one of those traveling like doctors that only comes into hospitals when called upon and doesn't actually have a working schedule like most doctors do. She's brought in when circumstances are dire, I guess. Gracie Gorton, who is the series' second transgender driver, says she was not born a she. Molly Rivers, Lexi Rose, and Jesse Green are kind of a trio of drivers who are they do cosplay of the Powerpuff Girls, and these are the rear side view gives good indication of that. Obviously, each one's car is designed to be a little bit indicative of each one's character that they cosplay as. Not a new car, but a new team, which is a logo that I think is actually just straight up missing. It is. That's, just take my word for it, this is a driver for a team. I have a new Mitsubishi GTO at my disposal. The S14 that it used to run in 640, well, the last time we raced at this very track ran very badly. So I'm just not going to be racing that. That's a daily driver, and I'm now racing a Mitsubishi GTO, just like the other admin. Well, one of the other two admins, anyway. Mika Harris has a new Mustang Boss 302. Stephanie Kaiser has a new 964 Porsche. Jacqueline Monte Carlo makes her debut here in an Audi TT. Clearly something to do with gambling, this driver, since they're sponsored by a casino and their name is literally Monte Carlo. Emilia Fontaine, the ultimate Coca-Cola fan, who literally is just, their family's just a giant shareholder in the company, and that's what's kept their money. Costanzo Modesto, who is a currently off-duty ambulance driver due to recent injury. He is doing the Challenge Series as a form of rehabilitation from that injury. If Pepper Mills is Italy's best doctor, Modesto is Italy's best ambulance driver. And then Tyler McIntosh returns with a slightly redesigned Super Bee, which actually makes it look like a hardtop now, which it always was. And has a couple of new sponsors on the car. And is also part of a team that is Jake Scarborough's new team, Jake Scarborough Racing. Really original name there, Jake. That Tyler is on, along with Jake, obviously, Fidel, Brendan, Damian Kotexa, who's in this race, Trevor, and Johnny Parker. And McIntosh is the focus car. Let's put the stuff on the screen. And go green. We've not seen Tyler's Super Bee in action for some time, which was surprising to me, seeing as this was his trademark car. His Hellcat wasn't really so much, but this one was. His trademark car now became his Supra while this car was inactive. It seems he was doing, I don't think it was maintenance, I think he was basically trying to reinvent the wheel of this car to really make it stand out as his trademark and his ultimate performance vehicle. So he's spent time refining the setup and just all-around characteristics of the Super Bee. Yeah? I guess we don't get a cockpit view. Yeah, I'll have to get a hold of Damien after this race and after this week and inform him and or Jake that there's no JSR logo on Kotex's truck, because it's definitely supposed to be there. They can even kind of see where it's supposed to be. As Lexi Rose gets right into the back of him. And I think she has become the first driver to experience damage. She's got some front bumper damage from that collision. But yeah, I think I can see exactly where it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be underneath the mirrors, where the JSR logo is supposed to be, and the subsequent Burning Rubber podcast is probably going to be to the left of the taillights, if I had to guess. Maybe even somewhere on the hood. Maybe work it in with the stripes on the front. I'm not sure. I'm not their designer, so I don't really need to know. McIntosh just got two cars in one turn. I'm pretty sure that this car was a known thing. Yeah, I was. I played as it in a race in previous seasons, so it must be a known car. Despite all of the reworking to the vehicle, it doesn't seem to be any more stable. Not that that really is a reasonable expectation for such a car to be stable. Brianna was doing fine on her debut up to this point. Her RX-8 lacking a little bit in the top speed department. But obviously having very strong cornering grip. And she's running exactly where she started, and well, minus Tyler, running P4 now. We've already reached the final lap, so another race is going to be sub 5 minutes. So if Tyler is going to grab the W, he's going to have to get up there as fast as humanly possible, because he's already running out of time. He's only got about a minute's worth of racing to go. But still passing zones left. Any corner's a passing zone if you're fast enough, I guess. He looked for maybe a sneaky move up the inside of Newstein there, but she closed the door. It doesn't matter. McIntosh got a way better exit and clears her before the kink. Gives Francesca a slight nudge through the kink as I think she was maybe taking it a bit more conservatively than she should have been doing. McIntosh will take advantage of that fact. But very tight racing between the two of them. Technically clean, but not by much. But it'll do the job, as one more turn to go for McIntosh, and the reworks to this movie have clearly done something right. As out of the last turn, here comes McIntosh, pulling to the inside, takes the W at Laguna Seca. Fidanzi and Newstein remain on the podium with him. Brianna Tao will just about hang on to 4th for her debut, only losing 1 position on the way around. Same applies to Pepper Mills, who also, I don't think her position changed either, minus Tyler. Alright, we're here ahead of the 3rd race, 1 game reset later. Thank you, Polyphony. And time to go over quickly this race's debuting drivers. There aren't nearly as many as the last one. First up is Kenji Fujikawa, a former street racer who's more than familiar with his surroundings, being that we're on Tokyo Expressway for this 680 class event. Former street racer who was framed by his street racing crew and dishonored, as he calls it, prompting him to leave the street racing underground for probably ever, he says. Apparently he got picked up by a professional drifting team not long after, and that's why he has this weird thing going where one half of the car looks super Japanese and the other half looks Well, like this. And we have Eddie Collins, who is someone, to say the least. Headlights freaking out way in the corner. I don't even really want to go into this flipping guy. I don't even know why I let him in. This guy's worse than Miyamoto, for crying out loud. Almost as bad as Alice in Chains. We have Marco Mendoza making his debut. If Diego was a Brazilian DJ, here's a Mexican DJ for a really small-time nightclub whose cash flow has been dammed up pretty heavily by its new management. So he's branching out to try and obtain funding. Trevor Graham has a new car for 680 class. It is a Mustang Group 3 road car. And it's one of the most cars I've ever designed, pretty much. Valentina Amalfi is a rich girl from the Mediterranean coast who, despite being from Italy, doesn't like Ferrari and dares to drive Mercedes. Yumi Ito in a 2019 Supra, from what I understand, is basically here to make sure that Eddie Collins minds his business and is on his best behavior. At least that's her own wording. I'm not exactly sure what the hell that means. Maybe that's like an ex-relationship, I'm not really sure. James Falcon. He's not actually related to anybody who runs the company, Falcon Tires, but they do sponsor him. I'm sure that was at least partially inspired by his last name. Former drifter whose drift car bit the bullet not too long ago, and he's like, you know what, I did enough there, I'm just doing track racing. Fernando Fadanzi has a new vehicle, a Maserati Gran Turismo. These cars are all normal. And Tetsuya Harada is the last new vehicle. They have a 22B to their name now. And then we just have POV of Kodo Kuno Doshabori. And so the event is green from Tokyo Expressway. Harada making some aggressive lane changes, and Kodo barely being able to react, and oh, it is rain. I pulled my earbuds out of my head. It is raining a lot as we head into the start of this race. I don't think it was raining when we set up in the tunnel, in the pit area, but now it's pretty heavy. At least for the moment. And the rain was in the forecast, but it wasn't happening when we were setting up shop for the week. For the day. Visibility even for the replay cameras, not amazing as we head through the first sector of the circuit. My throat is dead. As already up to P7 is the 240Z driver. That was weird between her and Thrasher. I wonder how much, if at all, of a factor damage is going to play in this one. In conditions like these, probably pretty easy to smack into a wall with some understeer. As it seems the rain itself, the rainfall, has subsided. However, obviously the moisture is still going to be on the racetrack, as Fujikawa protects his position by being promptly in the middle of the racetrack. A basic synopsis I have of this Group 3 road car is very good low RPM acceleration. Top end is terrible, and holy crap! And speaking of top end, Dosha Boreas is definitely not terrible. 200 miles an hour in a 680 car here at Tokyo East. Big air. These two are still too wide, and it looks like, don't give it too long, Dosha Borea is going to be going for the lead against Stephanie Kaiser. My mom kind of giving a bit of a squeeze to Trevor Graham there. You can see there's the JSR logo on this car, thus proving that he is on that team, in fact. Very interesting, because as I understand it, he and Tyler McIntosh are still having a bit of a feud. And now they're going to have to deal with that as they continue to race now as teammates going into Season 2. Koto Kuno is still within striking distance of Kaiser. Honestly, I didn't think that would change, per se, with the amount of momentum that she's carried into the second lap of racing. As, the sun is coming up, as we did start this race at about 5:10 a.m. So if these clouds dissipate a little bit, we might get some of this track to dry up. Considering I know that Dosha Borea loves rain racing, I feel like that's probably the opposite of what she wants to see, is the rain to dry up. Since her car is set up for wet conditions. As here we see Oro Fidanzi, is his nickname, is making pretty significant progress. He's up to the back of Kitano for third. Dosha Borea effortlessly screeches ahead of the Porsche driver to take the lead as we begin lap 3 of the race. And that is some pretty hefty top speed on that Gran Turismo, 180 across the line. Tara's Super B is struggling to stick with it, but is failing. Mom's Audi is roughly the same. Every car is able to hit 190 down the main straightaway, it seems like, even in these conditions. If not hit it, then at least get relatively close. Mom sends it down the inside of the Super B Roadrunner Hybrid. Two debuting drivers going at it for P7 back here, Mendoza versus Fujikawa. And as a matter of fact, there's also Valentina Amalfi in the mix, who's running Kenji almost to the barriers. And there is the sunlight, and I don't actually think that's what Dosha Borea wants to see, but she does have a pretty hefty lead to her credit, so she might just be fine even with her poorly tuned car. Now this is going to be a time where we're going to start to kind of understand what kind of quantities these new drivers are. They've managed to survive the rain, which is an impressive start for hotshot rookie drivers. That they've even survived the rain without disastrous consequences. But what are they made of and how they react to other drivers and apparently to one another is what we're learning right now, as Kenji and Valentina continue to hash it out for 8th position here as we head towards ever so closer to the final lap of this race. Trevor Graham finally getting the position on Taro Kitano. He's held on for so long, and now he tried to do too much. And okay, Mendoza, you had time to... Okay. Well, that was stupid. Taro with a bit of a lapse in judgment in multiple ways. Netting damage for a couple of drivers, Mendoza and Fujikawa amongst them, which will give 3 positions to Amalfi. But everyone is going in and getting off the intermediates. I'm not actually sure why that would be a thing that they're doing. Now they're all on racing soft tires, but Koto Kuno is still out there on intermediates. The track is not completely dry yet. And now her lead is only getting more just huge. I don't think those racing soft tires will do this much. Taro passed under that Michelin gantry at 7:21. I don't even think it's even worth trying to measure this. It's like 20 seconds. So I don't think Doshibori is under any threat now that Kaiser has elected to do that. Any sort of disadvantage he might be at by having a car that's not set up for a dry circuit is now non-existent because of this fact. They didn't actually lose much time for their pit stops, these two, with their damage. They both lost the place to Valentina, but they didn't lose any further spots, probably helped by the fact that Taro Kitano just kind of blocked the whole circuit after his failure. Out of the final hairpin for the S30 driver. Wave hello to Stephanie on the other side of the track, and to Fernando Fidanzi and Trevor Graham. Into the tunnel, and it is a wet to dry victory for Doshibori here at Tokyo East. And second place Stephanie Kaiser and third place Fernando Fidanzi are light years behind. Yeah, the session ran out before anybody else was able to cross, but I still remember the estimate saying 22 seconds victory between, or 22 seconds, the margin between Koto Kuno and Stephanie Kaiser. So, that is going to do it for this unpredictable weather race. On to the fourth race, where maybe conditions will be more dry, who's to say. Okay, it is time for race 4, and we are at Tron Mountain 720 class race. First, to go over the debuting cars and drivers for this one. All of the debuting cars and drivers are in episode 49, by the way, so we don't have to worry about this again later. And I guess I just kind of outed it as calling it episode 49, so I guess we'll just roll with that. Here is the first of many. Kazuya Takahata has access to an R33, which he's using for 720 class racing, as this is more of a track day car, whereas his R34 is meant to be a street racing car, and he keeps that in 680 so he can race against Akira and Noriaki in it. He has a 2017 NSX. Jeff Cooper. Hang on. There we go. Jeff Cooper is another debuting driver. This is one that Thrasher has brought in. Same with Diego Santrizo. Jeff Cooper is a big British motorsports freak, or fanatic, or whatever word you want to use. And that's why he's got this British Racing Green McLaren MP412C. David Danvers has a very uniquely colored 2013 Viper that he's bringing to the stable. Eric Wojciechowski with a red and or a red take on his classic, on his branding of the fire and ice thing that he's been doing since he got here. Now there's a little bit more fire to it since it's red and not black or blue. And then we have a three-piece combo split by me and Natsuki. This is an interesting one that Jake Scarborough brought these guys in, but doesn't. Or he recruited them, but he's not actually on the admin team. Thrasher is. And that was one of the things that happened in the off-season, that we recruited him as such, as our head of recruitment, since he, well, has brought in so many drivers already, the likes of David Danvers, you know, like so many drivers like that. He's been responsible for their appearance. Jake has mentioned this to these three now. Now, Levi Meyer, Sophia Meyer, and Sir Jack Davies. Sophia and Levi, both prolific up-and-coming upstart drivers in the more open-ended world of motorsport. And Sir Jack Davies is the, I believe it's the CEO of McLaren Racing, or McLaren's like racing technology group. So basically he's like the McLaren guy when it comes to motorsports, and he apparently thinks that the Challenge Series is a good spot as a sort of testing ground. So he's brought him and two of the drivers under his command, the Meyer siblings, to join him in his attempt to conquer Stephanie Kaiser with the Carrera GT, and Terrence Blackpool is another new driver, a bouncer for a nightclub in I think it was Cambridge or around there, who always had a passion for racing and couldn't stay in that bar forever. So now he's deciding, how about I start racing now? And then I can't skip over this man. Yes, you're seeing this right. Number 130, Nico Mizzoto, returns to the Challenge Series. And I know exactly what you're thinking, but isn't this like the misogynistic asshole that tried to murder everybody that wasn't a guy? Was, yes. But I have cause, me and Nittery have cause to believe that he has changed. Let's see. I'll just read off of the new updated bio he's left behind. He never actually had one before. I didn't give him the time of day to write one in. I basically just said this guy is an absolute menace, and I'm not commenting on him any further than I have to. But he wrote the bio himself now, so I'm like, fine. As he is now, he claims to be a changed man. He hit rock bottom, climbed from the bottom of the barrel, and found a renewed meaning to life. When I dethroned Gina, she blamed Nico and his sexist antics for making him look bad, or for making her look bad. In reality, he was doing that in an effort to show his loyalty to her. He never threatened to break up with Gina at all. Gina was simply playing the victim card and still lost the hand, trying to make it look like Nico was the cause, not her. Mizzoto's antics probably the cause for Gina to start losing her shit so much, even at her fellow admins. Psychological stress from the whole Gina thing, and between the breakup following Gina's removal like they broke up because she got kicked, and the psychological stress Mizzoto was under from it, he lost it and nearly killed himself on antidepressants. But he manages to make a recovery, and he's here to make his personal redemption arc. And me and Nittery especially saw no reason not to give him that chance, and if he did do something stupid, and he wasn't just a ploy, maybe he's trying to play the victim card, then, he's on a short leash, especially from the likes of Thrasher, who was already against him being in the series at all. And then we are finally able to go back to the actual POV driver, Marvin Manuel, in his Calsonic Skyline. Good lights. I was literally watching them count down and they didn't do anything. I need the information on the screen. This is a spot where I expect the damage to start meaning something. Oh yeah. There's a few cars with that now. Nittery's got some Stephanie, Verts. Those first three corners are an absolute clusterfuck on their best days. Manuel was cautious through the first few corners, which meant they didn't make many places up. But he also doesn't have any damage, which might be crucial at the end of this lap. I think there's a pretty decent chunk of drivers that have it, as I heard some smacking back here from something. Whoa. Kind of using Blackpool up a little bit, he kind of cut Manuel a break there. Oh, it's lane change. Somehow Manuel avoided contact there. It's a little foggy up here in the mountains. Jack Davies not off to a great start. He's got a bit of damage. By the looks of things, it may have been caused by Natsuki. Alright. Danvers, there's going to be a few drivers pitting in here, I think. Yep, Eric's got damage. Jeff Cooper is in. Davies is in. I can't follow that at all. So yeah, Jeff Cooper is in. Up. Eric Wojciechowski is in. David Danvers, Jeff Cooper, Jack Davies, Natsuki, Burt Wheeler, Stephanie Kaiser, and Nittery are all fixing their cars. If Manuel makes his pass on Charlotte Riel in quick succession, we'll have a Nissan GTR 1, 2, 3 here at Toronto Mountain. And Kazunori Yamauchi just got really excited and doesn't know why, as Manuel does precisely that. He moves his way up into third place. And that's a lot of momentum. Second place for Marvin. I don't think he'll be catching Hikari by the end of the straight, though. I think the fog's getting a bit thicker here. Terrence Blackpool has definitely benefited from this. Despite starting way in the back of the field, he managed to keep his car clean, despite nearly getting in the back of me. And he's in the top 8 now, from starting, I think, 18th. Mizoto has kind of followed Blackpool through the chaos, I believe. And he runs P10 despite starting 16th. And you can see just how much time those pit stops cost you when you have to make them. They're still getting racy back here, even for literal dead last. Kaiser has damage again, so he's gonna have to pit in again. I think Nittery just got damage from Jack Davies just there. It's a madhouse back here. I just narrowly avoided Terrence. I just back all the way out of that because I'd rather not get damage on my car. At some point, Manuel took the lead from Hikari. I don't know when this happened. But he's already got a pretty good lead, so I kind of get the sneaking suspicion that however he did it, it wasn't exactly an intense battle. It's probably just, hello, goodbye, I'm leading, thank you. Takahata's under threat to lose the status of GTR top 3. And considering I know that his plight prove that GTRs are the ultimate car, he's not going to want to give that up. He'll give way to another GTR, I'm sure, but he's not going to let no stinking Porsche pass him and ruin that statistic. Well, it's been a little bit of a melee in this race. A lot of cars got damaged somewhere throughout the course of the event. I think, what was it, 7 cars got damaged in this one? So, starting to look a little bit like ARC from our Challenge Series crew. Heading out of the last 2 sharp turns, Marvin Manuel will be the dominant GTR here at Toronto Mountain with the victory. And it looks as though that all GTR top 3 will remain, as Riel did not get a good exit. Meaning Takahata remains in 3rd. Top debuting driver of this race, definitely Sophia Meyer. Finished 6th, staying or keeping her vehicle undamaged, something that I don't think her teammates in the other 650Ss did. Yeah, so Jeff Cooper and Jack Davies, really not great first impressions from them. And Eric with some bad luck in traffic, I have him feeling. Levi Meyer, he didn't get any damage, but he just didn't have any pace, it seems like, in this race. He made up places, but only on cars that took damage. But I think Sophia Meyer started just in front of him and ends up in P6 for her troubles. So, on to the roulette race for the final race of this episode. We are green for the roulette race. No time for the pre-race things, since we don't actually have that many new cars or drivers in this event to go over. So I'm just going to have a bit of a lightning round a little bit into the race. The POV car is Brian Ice in his Diablo. I don't know what else he'd be driving, got anything else. He's alongside one of the other cars, Terrence Blackpool, along with the 720 class SRT10 has the 760 spec GTS Viper. Oh, and he races it very aggressively. Sometimes. Nico Mizzoto, alongside his F430, also has an Alfa Romeo 8C for 640 class. And Dedrick Schwartz brings a... I don't remember what exact... hang on. That 2016 911 to the table for 760. Nope. Brian Ice keeps Terrence at bay, or at least for a moment. On paper should be the fastest vehicle here. The only other 760 class cars are Natasha Harris and Dedrick Schwartz. Dedrick does have the advantage of starting near the front of the grid, so he's already made his way to P2. Has only to overtake the, as he's coined it, the Green Monster of Takahata to take the lead. Got a bit of a teammate brawl here. All four Pacific Spirit drivers represented as they go down the main straightaway here at the Glen. How aggressive do these two race each other? Well, they haven't made contact yet. I think we just see Dom letting his teammate Brian Ice go. Small obstruction from Mika Harris. Thrasher looks for second place against Takahata. He will make it official. Heading through the bus stop. I am wrestling this car down the carousel. Could not put into words. As somewhere along the way, Blackpool got some damage on the first lap. He had to pit and fix that. So he's gonna have to be on a bit of a recovery run here. Some, like, I don't know, like 5-6 seconds behind the rest of the field. The bottom part should be easy pickings, but later on not so much, just Brendan Reed and his JSR machine. Natasha Harris isn't letting her teammate Ice go without a fight a little bit. Not a whole lot of one, though. They've both overtaken Takahata, and now he's under some threat as well from Mika. Scratch that, he's under a lot of threat, as in he might get passed here by her in the GT350R, and I think she will get him ahead. She's on a mission to try and stick with Natasha, but corner exits like that will not achieve that result. Ice around, looking to go around the outside of Thrasher. Thrasher bobbled the steering a little bit through the second part. Oh, speaking of what the heck? Did, like, Ice lose any sort of, like, surrounding vision? Alright, well there's some damage from with that Thrasher. You just got hit by a 50. You've been struck by Natasha. I believe that may have been in her desperate bid to get some distance on her sister in a lower class car. And now that she's taken that damage, she's gonna have to fix it, and she's gonna end up behind her sister in her lower class car. Is that really worth it, Natasha? And she continues to just absolutely tailgate Thrasher and botch shifts while she's at it. Meanwhile, Brian Ice has more or less caught up to Schwartz, despite being a category below the 911 driver. He's going to look for the overall lead of this thing as we head into lap 4, passing the halfway mark of the time limit here in the roulette race. I can only imagine Mika is sort of laughing out her right side window as she passes her sister. And into T1, I believe Brian Ice just got the move done. Oh, well before turn 1 actually. Also, oh, I remember now. I don't remember why. I remember the note saying that Brian Ice had damage from lap 1 where he was punted by Blackpool going into the first corner of the boot section. Blackpool pitted to fix that damage, but Brian Ice decided that it didn't affect him. And considering he ends up taking the lead, 3 laps of change, just over 3 laps into the race, I think he seems to have a point. I don't think it's really affecting his pace all that much. There's Blackpool on his quest to salvage positions. He's up to P11 now, trying to make his way through the 680 crowd. Wow, Gemini just about nearly bought the farm there, heading out of the carousel, or heading towards the carousel, I should say. The 680 crowd and Nico Mizzotto, who's in a 640 car, but he's managing to keep up with the 680s anyway. Terrence just took me on the outside. But he gets boxed in between me and Nico. Suddenly Natasha is on her way back through the field. I've been bumped by Thrasher for no damage. This is just an absolute clusterfuck, ladies and gentlemen. There's no other way around that. This is a cluster. Cars from all different categories as people have come in and out of the pit lane. The definite winner of this kerfuffle is, well, it's definitely Natasha. She got through everybody. I still didn't find a way around Mizzotto. And I'm just instead being passed by all the people that should have been ahead of me a long-ass time ago. The top few cars are all very spread out. Natasha Harris is catching up to Garrison, and that's going to be the next bit of action that we're going to be seeing on the racing circuit here. And by catching, I mean that was a very aggressive braking point, and now she's there. But now without company, as Basher has to limbo around his own teammate, Natsuki. I know they don't do team orders there, but they're also in different categories, so I figured there'd be something on the table for that. Good job, Natasha. Give herself more damage. So if she had any hope of getting back up to her sister, she's just thrown that away. She's cutting off Blackpool at the entrance to the corner. Does eventually now get ahead of John Garrison with a little assistance from the grass. But I think that's a little too late. As the sun is beginning to set, and I believe we'll be looking at the final lap here. Yeah, so that's a 9 raker, so... And here is the final lap. Brian Ice may not have the fastest lap, but he's been running consistent ones all the way through. Look a little ways further back. I still haven't overtaken this 8C yet. Definitely not my best work here at the Glen. Garrison and Harrison. They have to pit again because Natasha is an idiot who just drove straight through John. Am I finally going to get ahead of the 8C? It looks as though I shall. I'll not be defeated by a 640 car today. It's a weird one. They come out of the pits, but because they crossed the line before the timer ran out, they're still active part of the race. What the sun? Alright, I think he just took the curb there. I don't really think that was any sort of ill intent. That was snap oversteer from the Alpha driver, I would say. Asher's looking for P6 on the 680 class Dominic. Terrence is going to recover to at least 4th place here. He gets ahead of Takahata, heading into the toe. But main focus of the day, even despite not being in the highest category of the race, Brian Ice, despite rear end damage, will win the roulette race here at Watkins Glen. Dedrick Schwartz, with an efficient debut for his 991 Porsche, will take second, and Mika Harris can point and laugh at her sister as she finishes on the podium ahead of 2 760 cars, including her own sister. Terrence Blackpool's recovery drive is not to be completely ignored, as he went from, I think, 19th on the grid, or 18th, somewhere around there, to like 15th, then to last, like 8 seconds back, and he manages to make his way back to 4th. Still managing to beat Natasha, probably because she had to pit twice, and Natasha ends up in 13th, behind a 640 class car, and almost all of 680, except for Garrison, who she ran into, dragging into the pits with her, and Kenji, who I don't honestly know what went wrong with him, but he didn't have much speed today. And so that shall conclude matters here in the first episode of Challenge Series Season 2, pretty much picking up right where we left off.